7-time New York Times bestseller. Your work on behavior, decision-making, human potential has shaped how we work, how we sell, and how we lead. One of your more recent books, The Power of Regret, it's quite popular. A lot of people have dialed into it, and it kind of turns, I think, conventional wisdom on its head. And I want to use that as a starting point for our conversation. I know you're a thinker, you're a writer, you're a lover, you're a human behaviorist, you're probably a recovering lawyer, as I understand it. And it might be a conversation that you've had ad nauseum, but regret is ubiquitous. We all have it. And even as a kid, when my brain even wasn't yet formed, Dan, I would hear the phrase, I have no regrets.
Yeah.
And I couldn't articulate it and I couldn't understand it, but there was something like at my DNA core level that irked me. I was like, dude, seriously? Like, you're a human being. How can you not have any regrets? Right? So let's use that as just like a starting point. How do you frame that up when people say that? Are they really saying something else, or have they like semantically reconciled and completed with themselves their regrets?
I think it's possible that people who say that have adequately reckoned with their regret. I think that's possible, but I think it's a fraction of people. I think for the majority of people, they've basically been conned. That's why they say it. They've been conned by this philosophy that we have out there that the path to a good life is to be positive all the time, never be negative, to always look forward and never look back. And that advice, which all of us have gotten, is bad advice. It is also unscientific advice. What we know is that regret, as you were saying earlier, Seth, is ubiquitous in the human experience. All right. This feeling that we have when we look backward and wish we had done something or wish we had done something differently. That it is one of the most common emotions that human beings have. And it's a very unpleasant emotion. And so you have to ask yourself, well, why does it exist? And it exists because if we treat it right, it's useful. And so I think what's happening is that the 90% of people we're talking about who say that don't know how to deal with regret. So they feel it. We typically say you should ignore your regrets, put your fingers in your ear, or and when that doesn't work, people wallow in their regret. But instead, what we should be doing is looking at our regrets, examining our regrets, using them as information, using them as data. When we do that, we have a pile of evidence from the last 50 years of social psychology showing it's a transformative emotion.
We've only been talking for a few minutes, but at some point, Dan, I've got to make this about me. My invitation for you on this podcast was in the realm of something I was going to regret. In 2025, I've been doing this podcast for 4 years. And the birth of the podcast, like many, was out of the pandemic. And initially I was like, well, if I don't do it when, and it was kind of an action versus inaction that you talk about in your book. So I did that. I have no regret. And we've sustained it. We're well over 100 episodes. I've grown, wow. I've learned truly. And it's been an amazing vehicle for me in every aspect. And I said to myself in 2025, I said, Self, I want this person as a guest, and you were on the list. And then I started talking myself, well, I should reach his publicist first, or this manager's not going to like it, or who am I? He was on Oprah and all this stuff. And I threw the shot out. And as you say in your book, in not these words, but you never make a basket that you don't shoot at. So here we are.
Yeah. I don't say those exact words, but it's true. And one of the things that we see in examining this emotion of regret, which I examined through 3 different ways. Number one is that I did a very large public opinion survey about American attitudes about regret. I collected regrets from people all over the world, about 26,000 regrets. And I also looked at, as I mentioned earlier, several decades of science about it. And one of the things that is true in everywhere you look when you study regret is that over time, people regret what they didn't do way more than what they did do. And so doing so having that bias for action that you were describing, Seth, taking your shot is one of the most powerful ways we can mitigate regret in the future.